So, from a film that tries to appeal to everyone by insulting us, why don't we go to Stone um, to talk about a film that's just going to insult us?
Oh boy. All right. First, a history. All right. Picture it. It's October of 1974, Jamaica Hills, New York. This Israeli immigrant named Meir Zarki goes out to play tennis with one of his friends, and he brings his 9-year-old daughter along. And just before they're about to leave, a naked woman comes out of the bushes. She's extremely bruised, bloodied, walking like a zombie, essentially, and basically collapses in front of the three of them. And despite the fact that her jaw was broken, she relayed to them that she had just been raped by two men, brutally raped by two men in the park. And so at first, Mayor and his friend didn't know, should we take her to the police station to try to report these guys, or should we take her to the hospital? They decided to first take the daughter home and then go to the police station to fill out a report, even though she was very, very injured. But they take her to the police station, and the police start asking her questions and try to get the whole story out of her. And let's just say that the questions were very much of the victim blaming variety, and it made Mayor very, very upset. And he starts, yelling at the cop, look, we have to get her to the hospital. This is ridiculous. Stop treating her like this. And it felt like the abuse was just starting all over again. So they finally got her to the hospital. Her father thanked him for essentially saving her life. And when he got home, apparently, while he was out, apparently he found out that his daughter ran in and asked her mother what was going on, because she had no idea what rape was, and her mother explained it to her. And so Mayor finally got an idea to make a movie. He had studied in Israel, and the movie that inspired him to become a filmmaker was actually Bicycle Thieves. But he decided, you know what? I'm going to write a movie. I'm going to write a rape revenge movie about a woman that gets raped and she takes revenge against her attackers. And the original script was called The Housatonic Revenge. And he thought, you know what? My friend, he has this wonderful house out in Connecticut along the Housatonic River. Perfect, beautiful place to shoot the movie. So he writes the script, takes him about a year, gets some actors from New York, including Camille Keaton, who at that time had only done a few films in Europe. However, she was also essentially known as the grandniece of the silent film star Buster Keaton. And they made this movie in Kent, Connecticut. I mean, there were several crew members that walked off because they did not want to be part of the experience, because they knew what was in the script. They knew this was very serious subject matter, and that it was going to be very hard to watch. But according to the actors, everything in the shoot went very smoothly. There weren't any real issues, despite the fact that there were. I mean, how they got through that shoot is incredible. But they got through the shoot. Everything's in the can. He renames the movie Day of the Woman, and he proceeds to release it in international territories with Camille Keaton at his side. Apparently, several months after the movie, they decided to get married, and so they're selling the film around Europe, but they still have not got distribution in the United States. They really wanted to get distribution in the United States, because when they were selling it to other countries as Day of the Woman, it got some business, but it wasn't really attracting anything. And then so they finally showed it to the Miami Film Festival in '79, and a man by the name of Jerry Gross, who ran the Jerry Gross organization at the time, had somebody there, said, okay, we want this movie, let's make a deal. This was the deal. The deal was, we will buy Day of the Woman, and we will distribute it in the United States. But there's a catch. You have to allow us to change the name to whatever we want, and have a completely different marketing campaign. So Miyazaki, while he was, he said, well, I haven't gotten any other deals at all in the past 2 years. I might as well take this one. And unfortunately, or maybe to the film's benefit, but let's just say that somebody at the Jerry Gross organization thought of the new title. They hired a model to go out in LA in a park to shoot a picture for the poster. And that poster happened to be this, with the brand new title, this very infamous poster, the I Spit on Your Grave poster from 1978. This woman has just cut, chopped, broken, and burned 5 men beyond recognition, but no jury in America would ever convict her. And I Spit on Your Grave is the name of the title of the movie, An Act of Revenge. And by the way, I will reveal that this woman, who was quite unknown for the past 40 years until a documentary was made about the movie, and somebody recognized her as Demi Moore. They weren't able to get official confirmation before the documentary ended. However, Demi Moore officially confirmed in her book last year, yes, I did the photo shoot for I Spit on Your Grave. And as Jerry Gross' organization would say, they needed a butt to sell the movie. So
it's a very famous booty. Very
yes.
famous booty.
Now, absolutely. So now we arrive in July of 1980. The movie I Spit on Your Grave opens in Chicago, Illinois. And these 2 newspaper critics named Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert decide to go see the movie. And they were more than appalled. They were outraged. They were disgusted. They wrote essentially every negative adjective on the planet in their reviews. And essentially at the end of the year, they not only called it the worst film of the year, but also the worst film they'd ever seen, period. This was, a piece of horrible trash. It shouldn't be seen by anybody. And they essentially, what they did is they picketed theaters and told people, don't see this movie. They actually physically picketed theaters. Now, before I get to the meat of my topic here, no pun intended, I want to say just a few words about Siskel and Ebert, because, look, I grew up watching them. When they originally had At the Movies, and they later had their show with the thumbs up, thumbs down, that kind of thing. And look, anybody who had any interest in film knew who these guys were. And look, honestly, I liked their banter. I thought they really worked as a team. Now, over time, let's just say I've agreed a lot more with Roger Ebert than Gene Siskel. And considering Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is one of my all-time favorite movies, and Roger Ebert wrote that 50 years ago, I'm willing to give Roger Ebert a pass, even if a lot of people in the horror community understandably refuse to, because of the fact that they just condemned horror movies to high heaven at that time. Friday the 13th, every slasher movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night was another one that got impacted by theaters being picketed. And it's just how far does it go in terms of Well, I thought a critic was supposed to inform and educate, not to just go out there and say, no, you don't see this movie, don't see this movie, don't see this movie, whatever. I personally think that they just got so disgusted by all the movies, seen them one every week, week in and week out. And they just got tired of it. I think they just got tired of watching them and dealing with them. And, you know, I've kind of washed my hands of those guys. I mean, to them, this is the worst movie ever made. And yet at the same time, in my opinion, I first saw I Spit on Your Grave in the year 2000. And I was kind of confused, and I think I questioned what everybody else questioned, which is, okay, did the director really make this as an exploitation movie? Or, you know, did he make a feminist movie? Did he make a movie that is about rape and the impact of rape emotionally and psychologically? And it's about a woman that decides to take revenge. And there's a reason why there's no police presence anywhere in the movie. It just works that way. But putting Siskel and Ebert aside, look, I mean, you know, I still respect Roger Ebert to a certain extent, but I not only do I think this is not one of the worst films ever made. I mean, I think that this is a movie. It's more of an experience. It's something that I honestly could never watch cold ever again. I have to watch it with an audio commentary. And that's why when the Millennium Edition, thanks to Elite Entertainment back in 2002, they released a DVD with two commentaries. One of them with director Meir Zarchi, where he explains the entire story of, you know, the inspiration, you know, the incident that happened in '74, shooting it in Kent, Connecticut, the Siskel and Ebert destruction, all that stuff. And then there was another critic by a man who I had never heard of before. I assure you all, I had never heard of Joe Bob Briggs before I listened to his commentary for I Spit on Your Grave. And right off the bat, Joe Bob Briggs, you know, opens it up like a scholarly essay almost, you know. Is this the most disgusting movie ever made, which is what Siskel and Ebert said on sneak previews? Or is it the most feminist movie ever made? And he says, that's what we're going to figure out while we watch it. And that brings me to the fact that, look, it took me a long time to really understand and appreciate what this movie was and what the director was actually saying. I do not see it as an exploitation movie called I Spit on Your Grave, but rather I consider it a feminist movie called Day of the Woman. And yes, that is a very rare original poster for Day of the Woman. And this is part of the Ronin Flicks I Spit on Your Grave Collector's Edition Blu-ray. Here again, courtesy of Ronin Flicks. This just came out last week. I believe it is limited to 5,000 units. I wish I should have double-checked that, but I know that this is a limited edition. But a very hard box of the very famous image of Jennifer on the Housatonic River about to axe Stanley. And on the back is the Housatonic River. Beautiful, gorgeous artwork here. I mean, this rivals the Friday set, in my opinion. And what we have here is Day of the Woman, which I will always keep as Day of the Woman, even though there's a reversible sleeve for the I Spit on Your Grave. This is the sequel, which came out in 2018, starring Camille Keaton, returning after 40 years with director Meir Zarchi, and also Jamie Bernadette on the cover there. And this is the documentary that also came out a couple of years ago called Growing Up with I Spit on Your Grave, narrated and directed and edited by the director's son, Terry Zarchi, who actually has a cameo in the original movie as a 9-year-old boy, and his father offered him $10. His father offered him $10 to be in that movie. And then finally, we have this booklet with a bunch of images and some essays. And one of my favorite images in this entire book, it's on page 15. If I can get to it here real quick. That is Camille Keaton with Mayor Zarki's children when she was living with them. And see, just 1 second here, page 15. There's this incredible poster, a very rare Day of the Woman poster. Look, somebody out on the internet needs to paint this. I will pay good money. If somebody decides to paint this, I will buy it off of you, because this poster is, I think, an epic. It's epic in every sense of the word. So, and finally, well, not finally, but almost. I intend, this box set is so awesome. I mean, Ronin Flicks, like I said, they did a hell of a job with this. But I do intend to keep these Blu-rays in this box a very specific way. And I will show you exactly what I mean. On the side, as you can see, is the DVD titles, Day of the Woman, Deja Vu, and at the top, Growing Up with I Spit on Your Grave. And on the covers, on the sides here, we have the three leading ladies, Camille Keaton, Jamie Bernadette, and Demi Moore. And I think that is just so awesome. I mean, I adore this set. And finally, the extra features. On the original movie, we have the two commentaries as we had before. It has been scanned in 4K. I did not detect one scratch, one blemish. The Housatonic River had never looked more gorgeous on film, if you ask me. And there's a brand new featurette, actually, a location featurette, where one of the essay writers goes to Kent, Connecticut, and shows us the locations in the movie. Now, I, in fact, have been to Kent, Connecticut. In fact, I even learned about it through the Joe Bob commentary that Friday the 13th Part 2 of all movies was shot there. And I remember I was traveling down south because I grew up in Northern Virginia, and my home was directly off of Route 7. And I thought, I'm driving back from the northern U.S., and I thought, you know what, I'll just take Route 7 all the way down. And would you happen to know, but Kent, Connecticut was on the route. And so I stopped and I found some of the locations, including Jennifer Hills's house, which is the house that the director of photography had. And it was the one where in Kent, Connecticut is where they shot the movie. I have a picture of that house that in this featurette doesn't have, because apparently back when I took the pictures, nobody lived in the house. In fact, in this featurette, they didn't get a shot of the house because of the fact that there were private property signs, and the owners are like, nope, leave us alone. We don't want to know. Even though the one that owns some of the other actress's house, they're totally open, and they actually talked on camera. The documentary also has some new extras, including an 8mm film with Terry Zarki and Camille Keaton, and also the son decided to put Mayor Zarki and Camille Keaton's wedding footage on there from 1979. How sweet! That's really sweet. And then finally, on Deja Vu, we have a brand new audio commentary with Joe Bob Briggs. And let me just say real quick, Joe Bob Briggs is an awesome commentator. I want him to do more. I mean, and what blows my mind is that the I Spit on Your Grave commentary that he did, that was the very first audio commentary he ever did. And, you know, he makes a lot of, I think, salient points, very lucid points throughout both commentaries, while at the same time providing his brand of humor. And let me just say that One quote from the original commentary, which I'll never forget. At the time, I assure you all that he was saying it as a joke. It was just a joke, because I remember laughing about it at the time. But you could see how this movie was a resume killer. None of these 4 actors that played the rapist never did another movie. And I actually don't think they're bad actors. I've seen much worse. I guess when you're going to casting calls in New York and your audition reel says rape number 1 and rape number 2, they are not too anxious to hire you for the next episode of The Cosby Show.
Actually,
what? That he said it as a joke. He said it as a joke at the time. Who knew that would have been prophetic? I mean, so look, I mean, I know these films are not for everybody. That is the understatement of the century. But I'll be perfectly honest with all of you. I like Deja Vu better than the original. So if you want to get this set, there's not many. There's only a limited print of it by Ronin Flicks. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful set.
Did you show us the photo? Did you show us the photo of the house, the infamous house?
Oh, I sent it to you via Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Show it. My bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you want to get that, does anybody have anything to say about Day of the Woman or I Spit on Your Grave? Because I would be open to hearing any opinions, whether they be hostile, neutral, or positive in any way, shape, or form. Because this is one of the most discussed movies of all time. It may be one of the most hated. But look, ever since Joe Bob Briggs's commentary, there have been books, there have been scholarly essays, there have been so much written. I mean, more films made. I mean, so if anybody wants the floor on this, now's the chance.
I think of that movie kind of the same way I think of Last House on the Left.
Yeah.
Like I admire it for what it did, or for what it does, I should say. But it's not one that I choose to watch on a regular basis.
I have to say, I don't think it's. I like the movie. I mean, I actually prefer the remake, to be honest. But I do. The original movie inspired the remake, so you can't go wrong on the OG. It is brutal. It is violent. It is awful. It is disgusting. But I think it's important, and I think it's important to see the kind of violence that can be done to women out there. I also think that it's really important to show that a woman can turn around and stand up for herself if she needs to. And so it really should be a cautionary tale. Watch out who you're messing with, because you may think that you have the upper hand, but you never know what kind of brain they have. He might be a little smarter than you and might be able to trap you in the end.
And there is the house that Stone was referring to earlier.
Yes, and like I said, when I visited Kent, Connecticut, I took that picture. I took it on a disposable camera, by the way, but I actually decided to go to the local real estate company and ask them about the house. And they told me that, the house has been empty for a while now. And I told them, well, is it because of the movie that was shot there? And they had no idea. And so I explained to them, this movie was shot there and everything. And then one of them turned to the other and said, you know what? I bet this explains exactly why we haven't sold this house in 8 years. I'm telling you. And yet now you can't go anywhere near it. So that is a picture of the house. It is not on the location featurette, but there it is for yourself.
I always feel that I Spit on Your Grave and Last House on the Left and Miss 45, basically the entire rape and revenge subgenre, gets a bad rap for exactly the reason it should be cherished, which is it elicits a response that's immediate and powerful. Now, repulsion is not necessarily something people enjoy all the time, but I think that too many films make me feel nothing. So to feel a little bit of anxiety going into a film I've seen a few times, because I've probably seen I Spit on Your Grave, I don't know, maybe 8 times in my life. That's still a powerful movie if it can still get me to feel that way. Because I'll be honest with you, outside of nostalgia, which is kind of a bullshit emotion in a lot of ways, you don't feel anything knowing what's going to happen in Star Wars or even Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know what's coming. You're just going to enjoy the ride again, right? But a film like I Spit on Your Grave, you feel that bubbling up again going, man, did I just sign up for this again? Am I going here? It's kind of like when you have that friend that says, I've never seen Irreversible. I'm a little nervous. Would you watch it with me? And you're like, dude, I might be busy for a while. I have this thing going on. I don't know if, no, find someone else. And I think that should be cherished. Again, not for everyone. Stone is right. But you know what? Not for everyone actually can mean perfect for someone, though. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not made for me. They're just not made for me.
Because you're not a rapist.
Yeah, you're not a filthy rapist.
For backwoods New England rapists. That's the audience.
It's not for you, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about whether it's exploitation or not, I don't think so. Because I don't think the intent was to be, to exploit anything until, okay, and I have to bring this up, the poster. And here's why I'm going to bring up the poster. How ironic is it that it's a movie about, women's revenge, and they say we need ass to sell it. I'm sorry, but do you see how ironic that is? Do you see how that might be taken the wrong way and how it kind of it's conflicting? I find that ironic, and I really wish that they would have done something else. I understand it, but it takes away from the meaning of the movie.
It was distributed and sold as exploitation.
Yeah.
When it wasn't made as exploitation. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to disagree with you guys. It's so big. It's an exploitation movie up and down, and you shouldn't run from that. It's not a bad thing. You can, inside any art form, whether it is a comic book, whether it's a television commercial, you can do great things. You can make a great, meaningful exploitation film. Doesn't mean it's not an exploitation movie. There was a decision made early in that movie to go extreme with everything. It was the right decision, by the way. But they made it knowing the film was playing on 42nd Street, not in a suburban mall. Okay, they knew that. I don't see exploitation film as any kind of pejorative at all. In fact, I think it almost means it just meant you were actually interested in finding your audience.
I've discovered a whole new appreciation for that poster now. That it's Demi Moore's booty on there. You know,
that is Demi Moore. That is Demi Moore.
So,
very young Demi Moore.
She was like 20 at the time. And the woman on the commentary, she was just hilarious. She kept on saying, I know that butt. That is Demi Moore. I showered with her at the gym. That is her butt. I'm telling you. And she finally was hanging out with her one day, and she was looking through an album, and a bunch of these I Spit on Your Grave posters came out, and she looked at them, and she was like, what? Are you serious? It's like, oh, yeah, I posed for the poster. But she didn't officially say it into her book last year. So, but yeah, that is Demi Moore.